Is this the first call of the day? Being a student, being an old student back in the day, I remember that any classes before noon were bad. So hopefully today isn't a class, but thanks so much for having me. How did I get here? In fact, I've got two presentations and I didn't know quite which one to give you today. So I thought I'd just give you a future presentation. There's a presentation I've given, I actually developed it for Creative Week in New York City, and it's called What I Learned from Failing. What I thought I'd do is talk a little bit about my career to start off with, then I'll talk about some stuff for the future. I may rush through some of that because I want to leave some room at the end for you guys to ask questions. Two observations about Greece. By the way, this is my second time here. The first time here doesn't really count because I landed into Athens, I got on a bus and they took me an hour and a half away. And I sort of waved goodbye to the city and I didn't even see the bloody thing, and they put me on a beach somewhere for 2 days to talk about the future of stuff. So I could have been anywhere in the world. So this is the first time I've actually got to see and experience the city and the people. People here are amazing. You guys smile a lot, you laugh a lot, you talk a lot, you're very expressive, you like to drink and eat a lot. I've noticed that. I literally landed here at 3. Demetrius, who looks after TEDx, said come to lunch at 4. I'm like, you eat lunch at 4? What's wrong with you people? And then of course we had drinks at 11, which didn't stop till 1:30 or something like that. So you guys are animals. So by the time I leave, I'm going to be about 20 pounds heavier and drunk. So that's definitely an interesting call. And you seem to start everything really bloody late. It's like 20 past 11. What's wrong with you people?
The economy is the way it is.
The economy, yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, let's get to that. I want to hear what's going on. So this is me. I'm David Shing. I'm AWOL's digital prophet. Most people on the planet call me Shingy. I spend most of my time traveling the world speaking about digital trends. I do about 350,000 miles every 6 months. I guess I should say I do about 700,000 miles a year. I'm definitely a privileged traveller. I never turn right in an aeroplane, by the way. I always get to travel up front. That's not a good thing. It just means I travel too much. Just in the last week, I slept 2 nights on the plane. Just to give you an idea how aggressively I do travel, and it's because of what I do. If you want to know where I'm from this country. Hopefully you can tell by my accent I'm Australian. Don't call me a New Zealander, don't call me a South African or a Brit. We'll end up in a bar fight, but that's the country I'm from. That's the house I grew up in. That's the town I'm from. I'm actually from the bush. This is a more frequent image, but if that image was taken when my house when I grew up is about, you know, a third that size. So I'm from the bush, I'm from this small country town. I'm one of 10 kids. So that's my family, that's me on the left. Sweet 17, I'd never been kissed then, but those days are well over. So when I was 18, so when you think about it, 12 people rammed in one small house, that's a lot of therapy. So I ended up rushing away from home as quickly as I could. I was in a 2-bedroom house growing up with those 12 people. I ran away to Sydney. I went to Sydney to study design. And those of you who are too young in the room, they're magic markers. That's how we used to design back in the day before computers. And most of you look too young to understand what those bloody things are. But anyway, that's the world that I grew up in, magic markers. So I'm an old print designer. And print is alive and well in New York City. Somebody lives in that car, by the way. So that's a photograph I took about 3 weeks ago. Love it. The first account I worked on was Pizza Hut as an art director. So when I graduated, I did a 3-year degree in 12 months. So I was 18, I entered the workforce. I had a title called art director, but I was only being paid $15,000 a year, which is rubbish. Absolute bloody rubbish. But it was enough for me to be able to work with people like Pizza Hut and Toyota and a whole bunch of great brands. Then my resume got really, really fat really fast. When I was early 20s, I decided to rush off to Hong Kong. I'm half Chinese, and I look like I should speak the language, but I can't. But I went to Hong Kong. They hated me there, racist. You know, they hated the fact I couldn't speak. So I lasted about 1.5 years, and then I moved back to Australia, and I took over a multimedia company and helped to build it to be the 2nd largest web design business in Australia in my early 20s. So I'm one of those guys who decided to get into technology quickly and figure it out, but I had to figure it out by myself. So I would encourage you to do the same thing in terms of technology. It can work really well. I went off to Kuala Lumpur to raise some money. As I landed, this is a true story, my partners met me at the aeroplane. I was in my early 20s at this point and said, the currency it looks like it's really bad. The market fell overnight and we're in a crisis mode. Get back on the plane and go home. So I literally moved to Kuala Lumpur, but I stood on the tarmac for 12 hours and then I turned back around and flew home with my tail between my legs, my furniture coming from a boat. It was a very, very bad time. I'm an old internet guy, so people used to send me emails with a headline like, you've got to check this shit out. And this sort of thing would be attached. I miss those days. I raised a bunch of money in my early 20s and I moved to New York City with a bunch of friends of mine. We moved a bunch of Australians there. I was looking for an exit. Sound like a familiar situation, but I ended up driving the business down the shitter. And what was interesting for me is I took some time off and reclaimed my roots as a musician. So yeah, if you ever come to New York City, hopefully you can come and see me play in one of the clubs there, which would be fun for me. I was at a crossroads in my life, so I decided to turn it upside down, and I moved out to Colorado in Denver for a while and sit on a mountain, try and figure my life out, and then decided to move to London. So I was in London for 7 years, and the last 2 years of London I was the head of media, head of marketing for AWOL Europe. So that basically meant I was in the marketing side of the business, and I was in the print side, not print, but the digital publishing side of the business, and that was the business that I ran for them for a couple of years. My part-time job was education, so the sort of stuff I'm doing with you today. So I'd go out into the marketplace and talk about things that I thought were really interesting, because my agencies and the people who worked for me didn't understand digital as well as I did, so I decided it was time for me to go out and talk to them about it. Then I moved back to New York City to be the full-time evangelist for AOL about a year and a half ago. So that's my resume. So if you look me up on LinkedIn, you're not going to get that story, but just as an FYI. So I want to talk about forward doing. There are some trends that I want to talk about this morning that I think are really interesting. And people say to me, so, you know, why are you excited? Well, I love it because I'm going to talk about the context of before, you know, where I came from, what's happening right now, and what I think is going to happen next. And I think these are amazing times because there's over 7 billion people on the planet. 50% of those are under the age of 30. They've never known life without the internet. It's an incredible time to be in digital. It's an incredible time to be a marketeer. It's an incredible time to be a brand ambassador. Because with those 7 billion people, there are 6 billion mobiles. And only 1 billion of those are actually smartphones. Only 1 billion of those 6 billion are smartphones, which I think there's enormous opportunity there for growth. There are 2 billion people connected to the internet. 70% of people online like to read blogs. That's what people do when they're still on time, which is amazing. 57% of people rather speak to people digitally than analog. I can't remember the last time I really took a call on this thing. In fact, to give you an example, if you call my desk phone in my office in New York City, it forwards to a florist in London. I do that just for shits and giggles. and just because I'm part of that 57% that actually activate like that. 48% of people that own a smartphone have actually bought something. So it's really important to understand that those of us who have these don't just make calls with it or text, we actually end up buying stuff. All right, big platforms, clearly Google are one of them. Awesome, great way to discovery of the internet initially. Facebook, awesome. So a great way to socialize people that you know. And then you've got Twitter, which is also amazing because they give you the ability to follow things in the fast-breaking real-time news. So that's the power of Twitter. And then there are some things that we've done recently. You should check out Huffington Post Live. So Ariana is a good friend of mine. She launched a site called Huffington Post Live, which is 12 hours of real-time news and social news. So it's an incredible website to check out, and I think it's a future-forward element of what the news could be about. The vast majority of people on the planet only visit 30 websites a month. So not like you lot that probably visit hundreds of thousands of websites. There's only 30. So given that's the case, investment in brands it does matter. That's why when it comes to marketing online, brand marketing still matters. It's not just about direct response. So it's really important for you to understand that. What do people do online? They share and consume content. That's all they're doing. And they're sharing the content as you'd expect, and they're consuming content to be able to share the content. If you follow somebody in the social verse, and you notice that all they're doing is updating, there's no links, we love links still. We love to click on links, and we love to go to content, so that's why that really matters. How did we get to this bloody mess we're in today? Well, this fragmentation world we got to started with portals, search, blogs, feeds, and aggregators, and the rise of the beautiful social network. Now, I'm here to tell you that social networking is not new. It's old, and it's been around a long time. And don't worry so much about brands. That's not what I give a shit about. I really care about these themes. Openness, participation, community, conversation, connectedness. These are the big themes around social, not the brands. The brands, I promise you, are going to come and go. This is 4.5 years old, and some of these brands don't exist anymore. So it's really important to understand the themes around social will not change because it's part of our human culture. The brands will. Okay. Every brand I speak to, and I do have the luxury of traveling the world speaking to brands, every brand wants to be a curator of content. In fact, I believe that's moving into being curators of conversations. So everybody thinks they're producers, journalists, editors, writers, designers, but they tend to stink at that. And that's why agencies and creative agencies are still around, because they're the ones that help understand how to craft people's stories better than they can craft them. But before you even think about marketing, the 3 things you should learn are search, social, and syndication. It's the 3 best ways to get your content found at low cost. Okay, Coca-Cola recently just launched a thing called Coca-Cola Universe. It is a beautiful website. It's extremely ambitious. So if you want to see what the #1 brand in the world is going to do, check out this website of theirs, because they're being completely open. Most of us, with all this sort of data of how much tweets we get and how many years we've been around and all that sort of stuff, is normally internal data, not external. So what Coca-Cola are doing are being completely transparent now, and they're saying this data should be owned by others. So it's a really interesting community, and I recommend you guys check it out. Consumers' tastes have changed. So in the short amount of time that we've been around in digital, the evolution of tastes have definitely changed. And digital behaviours have also changed. So let me explain. We've been in the game of entertainment information for many years. But the new is this thing called utility. You're going to hear that word a lot. Utility, in my mind, is very, very simple. It's just be useful. So if you're not useful as a brand to people, then people aren't going to engage in your brand. They're going to find you a useless brand. So it's very important to provide utility, not just entertain and inform people. Right. However, I think we have these rubbery brains. I used to be able to read a book. I can now only read to about page 30 before I get bored, and I can't read the Sunday Times. So I've got this mushy brain, and then the reason for that is that I think it's Google. I love Google because they gave me discovery, but I hate Google because they also allow me just to skim across the top of the web, and I don't go deep unless I'm really impassioned about some particular subject matter. And so given that's the case, I think we're going to have to hit the reset button, because attention is the new currency. When I grew up in the digital space, we just cared about click-through, the ability to click on something. Well, that's rubbish now, because what happens is attention is the new currency. So dwell time and the ability to hold people's attention on pages. Now, if you don't believe me, think about it. Every time you pick up your smartphone and you go to listen to somebody, so I have Spotify. And when I listen to somebody really dorky like Dolly Parton, all my friends know, because the bloody thing goes directly to my Facebook page, which is really rubbish. So what they're trying to do is drive attention, and they're trying to drive a currency on their Facebook timeline, which is not driven by me, it's driven by my actions. And that's kind of the new currency that we're looking at. So it's all about attention. Oh, and please stop calling this bloody thing the second or third screen. And the reason I say that is nobody walked in here with a television. And so this is clearly the first screen. We all have one in our pockets. It's the first thing we go to. And this should clearly be called the first screen now. So if I were you, by the way, I would build out, if you ever want to know where the best place to be in the future of where this is headed, it's all about mobile. I say, people come to me and say, David, but you know, mobile's at its infancy. It's only just started, so what do we really do? Well, I say, well, firstly, that's bullshit. And it's bullshit for two reasons. In 1997, I was able to text a vending machine and have a Coca-Cola drop out. So it's been around for quite some time, but the biggest challenge for us is that we need experimentation. So we need to actually understand that mobile isn't like the web. It's a different device, and we need to authentically understand what we should be doing for people. So experimentation when it comes to mobile is extremely necessary. And by the way, if you think, well, that's fine, I've got a company, a lot of brands, what they think about doing is building an app. And if you build an app, it'll be perfect because people will download your app. Well, that's not good enough anymore, because in 2006, it probably was a discussion we could have had. But, you know, 6 years upstream, it doesn't work because people are downloading fewer apps, but they're paying more for them. So that's the important thing, which is, by the way, quick question. Does anybody know the number of apps on average that people have on their smartphone? Any answers? Someone want to shout out a number?
62.
It's 40, but close. Wow, 62. And anybody know how many apps people actually use?
7.
Yeah, it's 6. You're absolutely bang on. Help yourself to a juice later. So what's interesting about that is that because people are downloading fewer apps and paying more for them, we're having app fatigue. So we're not, you know, we might download one, but we don't experiment with them like we used to, because we're not about that. And 1 on 6 start on Twitter on mobile. They don't even care about the desktop version. So it's really, really important to understand that fundamentally the future of digital is the mobile. That's all we care about, and I promise me that's exactly what we want to do. If you just landed from Mars, there's a company called Instagram that was bought for $1 billion by Facebook. And people thought, wow, how expensive was that? I think it was a brilliant acquisition because they were the most amazing app of last year. Because they allow you to take crappy photos, put a filter around them, put them up to the social graph, and you start following people's photo tastes. It's an incredible application. But the key to it is simplicity. So when you think about anything when it comes to the future of mobile, it's all about simplicity. So what we've done is we started out being extremely complicated in mobile. What we should do now is make it really, really simple. And Da Vinci taught us this centuries ago. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. But somewhere along the way, we've lost our marbles and decided to make them extremely complicated. This is my favorite app. It's a weather app. I just survived going through Sandy, by the way, so I'm all about the weather, as you can imagine, down in New York. It's very simple. It looks like a fabulous utility. It operates beautifully. This is another app that I love, but it's actually not an app. This is a mobile site. So this mobile site operates just like an app does, but it isn't something that needs to be downloaded. And the thing I love about M sites or mobile sites is that you own the URL, you own all of the data, and you only have to build it once for multiple devices, as opposed to having to develop an app for every single device that you're trying to target. It's critical to think about mobile sites and not just apps moving forward. I'm a sneaker freak, by the way. These are my 1972 limited edition snakeskin red Adidas. I just wanted to show them off to you and let you know how sexy they were. No, actually, this is an app I wanted to show you. So this app allows you to take a snap of any kicks, and then it goes off and does a random fashion rotation. And that's great entertainment information in its own right. But the real utility of something like this with Adidas is that those shoes are available in walking distance from my apartment in New York City. That's the sort of utility that I'm talking about. And if you haven't checked out this thing, this is the Fuel Band by Nike. This is a category where it talks about bridging physical to digital. So what the hell am I talking about? A lot of brands that we talk to and a lot of brands that you will work for are physical brands, meaning they're not just web-only activations. And given that's the case, you need to somehow bridge them with digital. This is the best example that I can explain to you. So what is it? It allows you to monitor, your rate, and it creates a thing called Fuel. And what's really interesting is that then I can connect this to my phone and connect it to the greater web. So I'm going from a physical device to the digital world. And if you say to yourself, well, why is that relevant for Nike? What's that do to them? Well, if I decide to up my fitness level so I can achieve my daily results, I'm going to run out of kicks at some point in time. I'm going to go out and buy Nikes because they're my top-of-line brand. It's a $120 million business already. It's been around for 9 months, just to give you an idea. So this is a very significant business for Nike. By the way, this is me. Aeroplane, presentation, aeroplane. So my life stinks. Look at my fuel. It's meant to be 3,000 a day. It's bullshit. Anyway, what's really interesting, if you're between the ages of 18 and 29 years old, you're the heaviest check-in culture. Check-in, 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 check-in. It's about the location of where you are, what you're doing, who you're doing it with, and why you're doing it. That's become an extension of people's social bragging right. So your locations become equally more important. Why do we like it as marketeers? We love it because there's lots of data. It's completely data soaked. I know the context of where people are, and I know what they're doing. So I know kind of where they are, I know what they're doing, and I know the context of what they're doing it in. It's really important. So there will be new data coming out of mobile that we've never ever seen before. That's why I'm excited about it. This thing is called people discovery. So let me explain this. So if we don't know each other, and I see you check in somewhere, I can use one of these apps to say, I saw you check in, and I'm going to come and introduce myself. So we use them as icebreakers. I call it people discovery. It's a new trend that I'm seeing when it comes to apps. The challenge with that is that, firstly, in the real world, we would call that stalking. But somehow, when it comes to digital, we can seemingly call it people discovery. So I'm not quite sure where it's going to be fad. The biggest challenge for me is it drains the shit out of your batteries. So if you use any of those apps, your battery, you watch it just literally fall away in hours. So it's really kind of rubbish concept. So we'll see new versions of batteries and battery power coming out with our new smartphones. You guys may have heard this term called solo-mo. Solo-mo is actual social, local, mobile. It's meant to be the new utopia of understanding somebody's on their mobile and they're in their local area. We understand what we can do with them because they're going to be socializing. That was the utopian moment that we've all heard about in the last 18 months. Well, I think that's rubbish. I think it should be called homo, which I could have had a lot more fun with this slide, by the way, but I thought I'd keep it G-rated for this particular audience. 68% of mobile minutes are used in the home. So although we think, oh, people are traveling, they're using their mobile all the time to do all this stuff, they're actually burning most of their minutes in the home. So we're actually experiencing things differently. And one big thing that we are doing is gamification. So think about Angry Birds, which you guys probably play. This, if nothing else, is my gift to you this morning. How good is that image? I love that image. So with gamification, if you're wondering what gamification means, log into your LinkedIn. And LinkedIn will come up and say, hey, you're only 75% complete with your profile. If you complete your profile, firstly, they'll give you'll have better references sent to you, and they'll have better data to on-sell. So that's a gaming mechanic. And gaming mechanics are important when it comes to having people engage in what you do. So think about that as you move forward. The challenge, however, is this. When people check in or when people lean into your brand, The challenge is you only end up with digital merits. Like if I play a game, I get to the end of the course and I end up with a gift, like a reward, a pot of gold, etc. But if I check in somewhere and use Foursquare to check into a brand in a location, I end up becoming the mayor or I end up with a swarm badge. That's rubbish. What we should do is allow people to redeem our check-ins for physical goods. That's where we're going to go in the future. So I have the ability to say, if I'm going to go and hang out with the Gap, why shouldn't I, every time I engage with your brand, that I earn enough points to actually be rewarded with physical goods? That's where the future of this is going to be headed. Think about frequent flyer points for the mobile. That's where we're going to go in the future of the mobile gaming space. So let me talk about this in the real world. How does it work with the bridge of physical to digital? Is Shopkick here in Greece or no? No. Probably not, because they've just launched in the UK. Let me explain what this is. This is an application that I can register with, and then I can check into brands. And as I walk past a store, it'll geofence. If you don't know what geofencing means, basically it creates a network around a store. And when you're in the store, you can do different things. And I'll get to that in a moment. But if I walk past the Gap and I've registered with Shopkick, my phone will rattle and say there's 20% off sweaters if I go buy one today. That's kind of the concept. How it works in the real world is like this. This is an in-style magazine. So this is a print piece. And we loved print back in the day. But print is slightly declining, but people still read a lot of print. And why I love print is you can pass it on. So if you love a magazine, you can hand it to somebody. They can pass. We never pass on our iPads to somebody. You shitting me? No way. But I'll pass somebody a magazine. But so it works. But how it works in this is a little bit, it's beautiful. The problem with something like fashion, and this is an in-style magazine, is that you'll fall in love with a dress. It's like fashion porn, right? You fall in love with a dress, you find out who the retailer is, you call them. They don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you start to go like this, and your path to purchase is rubbish. That's the problem with print for the last 30, 40, 50 years. But when it comes to bridging it with digital, is that I can connect now with an app to this particular ad, and in here I can look at videos, testimonials, and all that good stuff that we try and want to have as an experience. And the real utility is, by the way, that dress is available in walking distance from your apartment. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about that we're getting to when it comes to physical and digital bridging. Okay. What about this bloody thing, the tablet that I just talked about? Well, yeah, we've gone from a lean back to lean in to lean back, meaning what? Lean back is we've been sitting on a sofa for 20 years, pointing our remote controller at a TV. Yep. Lean in is we're hunched over a desktop with our mouse and our keyboard. Bad backs, that's lean in culture. Lean back, we're back on the sofa with a remote control watching TV, but now we have a 10-inch tablet burning a hole in our crutch. That's the environment that we've now moved to. What's really interesting also is they're 50% more valuable than smartphone users. They already spend more, 50% more, and they spend 20% more than desktop. This category has only been around for 2.5 years. What's also interesting is they love sales. Higher conversion, faster conversion. So they'll have more stuff to spend. They spend more money on this bloody thing. And what's also interesting is they cross-shop. So for some brands that want to target multiple things like travel and shopping and all those sort of things, it's great because people on tablet have ADD. It means they actually go and experience more things and they cross-shop. Right, women rule the world. No doubt, brothers and sisters. No doubt, thank God. But at the moment, men have a higher usage of tablets than women do. So if you're going to target a man as a brand, you should be having this sort of tablet strategy. It's very, very important. But what's also interesting, men are on top occasionally. So we actually top women in terms of mobile spend. So we outspend women on mobile, which is a phenomenal idea. I never thought this would be the case. So men typically don't like to buy stuff, I'm told, but we definitely outspend them when it comes to mobile. People who own a tablet, and I don't care what brand they use, when they actually own a tablet, they have a higher appreciation of value than a smartphone user. There's something different about the bigger tablet screen. So they think about products and services on this differently than they do a desktop and a smartphone. It's just the nature of the beast. But it's not this phone that people are excited about for the future. It's an internet-connected television. The smart TV, you guys have heard of this. Every time a smart connected TV is delivered, about 30% of those worldwide are already connected to the internet, meaning they're much more powerful than a passive television. The challenge is people don't know that. So they sit back and they just sit back and watch video all the time. Same shit they could do on a standard television. The interactive part of television I always thought was going to be a layer on top like this example, but it's not. It's your phone. That's the interactive part of the television that you're watching. That's why we call it multi-screen. But now, I think what's interesting is that if you do want to go for this, as an example of a brand that wants to be on smart television, they have to have great video because that's all people are looking at. Let me give you an example of what 3 types of videos there are. There's repurposed, which is like a broadcast, like NBC or HBO, analog to digital. There's user-generated, that's YouTube. And then you've got original, that's companies like AOL that are building out content to go from digital to broadcast. So they're the three worlds.
A lot of people are like, isn't it difficult to invest in the market? And I'm like, not if you're using E-Trade. Making a big investment is as easy as a single click. Boom, I just bought some stocks. See, it was totally easy. Check this out. Boom, more stocks. Boom, asset-backed securities. Boom, credit default swaps. Boom, boom, boom. Hell, I don't even know what half this stuff means. But thanks to E-Trade, I can... Wait, why is this line going down? Oh God, it just dropped 400 points. This is not happening. Dear Lord, I made a horrible, horrible mistake. Shit, it's dropping more. Fuck, 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 fuck. I want to take it back. I want to take it back. Sell, 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 sell. Too late, it's all gone. I just lost my entire life savings. Oh God. Definitely saving for med school. Shit. I think I'm gonna be sick. Ow. Yeah. I'm gonna jump out the window now. E-Trade. Sorry, you can't take it back.
So it's probably hitting a pretty hard bone for you, I'm sure. But when the market fell 400 points in the US last year, this viral made its way around. Virals work really, really well. We know that. Snarky videos, this thing was turned around in 24 hours by College Humor. It works exceptionally well. I think the future of videos is not going to be virals. It's going to be more like this. That's an example of BMW's branded video. It's absolutely drop-dead gorgeous. It's like the speeding bullet, the slow-motion speeding bullet through the Apple we've all seen. It's just BMW's version of it. It's absolutely amazing. Long-form video like this, that's heavily branded, could be the future where we head with videos. I just wanted to show you some very good examples. When you build videos, a lot of people say we want views, completion, shares, likes, and comments. You can't have them all. So you build out the ones that you think are most important, and you should build a strategy around that. Has anybody heard of this guy called Ryan Niggerhiger on YouTube? No. Couple, maybe? So let me give you some data points. So Ryan Niggerhiger does spoof videos in his dorm room. There's hundreds of Ryans out there that are in YouTube that make these sort of spoof videos and are big. He has 5.9 million subscribers to his official YouTube channel. The #1 brand in the world is Coca-Cola. They have just north of 50,000 subscribers. The #1 celebrity in the world is Lady Gaga. She has less than 1.2 million subscribers. But yet, there are people like Ryan Niggerhiger in YouTube that has like 5.9 million subscribers. Unbelievable. So brands that actually want to captivate a snarky environment like YouTube, and when I say snarky, it's great for popular content, rubbish for premium. This is the sort of place that these are the sort of people you should align with. So that's an interesting play when it comes to video. If you have a celebrity in your video, it's 7 times more likely to be shared, which is a very important KPI, very important performance indicator. So that's kind of the idea of that as well. I'm also sorry, I don't know why that sounds like bad porn music, but here's what's interesting is, people say to me, Shingy, I know you're a big fan of augmented reality. Can you show me examples that help the path to purchase? Because that's really important when it comes to understanding that that's what most people want to do. They want to sell stuff. Here's an example of Ray-Ban, where I can go through the catalogue of Ray-Ban, try them on with my webcam, and just hit the buy button. Very, very simple. Here's another example. This is Lego, and this is Lego allowing you to hold a box in front of a mirror, and it builds the product for you in front of you. This is the future of augmented. Incredible. Tell me that doesn't help the path to purchase. And watch this thing. This kind of brings it all together for you. one in every crowd. If you need more convincing, check this thing out. So I think that video is more for me than anything else, but it really shows that Augmented can be more lifelike than you'd expect. That Unilever video that I just showed you with the you know, the dove, sorry, the fallen angel, that was such an important program for Unilever. They ran it in multiple cities, and it's that big thing that a lot of brands want, which is that earned media, and it comes for free because thousands of people could experience the brand. What they're really excited about is how do they actually, you know, take that brand and make it even bigger by amplifying it. You've got to have talkability. So they allow people to take photos, videos, and all that sort of stuff up to the social cloud, and it takes off. So it became a really important example of Augmented. I've also saw this recently. This is Band-Aid. So Band-Aid ran a limited edition strip of Band-Aids that when you wipe your phone over it, it brings the product to life. So Kermit now becomes on the screen and kids start to play around with it. They have data to say that kids forget about their owies as soon as you start to allow them to interact with these characters. Toyota actually came up with this as well. I think this is quite brilliant. So they understood that Toyota understood that kids want to be the backseat driver. They want to drive like their parents do. So they built an app that allows kids to drive in the same contours that the parents are, but in kid language, cartoon. So it's an amazing companion. And then you've got this sort of thing. When it comes to mobile, not everything has to be really, really, really smart and really sophisticated. It can just be quirky and simple and just a great idea. Here's an example. This is a takeover on a mobile site for cars, autos. And as I find this new car that I've never heard of, I swipe to see its features, but the car crashes because it's an insurance ad. It's an auto insurance ad, which I think is bloody a great idea. So it's just a simple idea as opposed to a sophisticated application. Then I saw this recently this year. So at London Fashion Week, DVF, the fashion designer, the models had the Google glasses on, and it's rumoured to be a catalogue that Google are going to build from the viewpoint of the model. So it should be quite amazing to see what comes of that as well. So this is all principles around augmented reality. Here's another way of what's going to happen in the future is this. If you haven't seen this screen, let me explain what it is. So in South Korea, Tesco, which is a UK shopping brand, opened these new stores, but they didn't have enough budget to open a bigger footprint. What they decided to do is an outdoor advertising. These are backlit billboards, and they built an app. So as I walk up to go to get on the train, I can actually quickly do my shopping because I can actually QR code the products and actually get them home delivered same day. So they went from nowhere to being the #2 physical retailer in South Korea for groceries. And they're also the #1 home delivery retailer by doing these backlit billboards for commerce. So this is the future where we are. So what does this basically tells you? It tells you that people like to transact without going to the cash register. The mobile phone is the cash register, and I should be able to transact wherever I want to. What's also interesting is that only 10% of the global population interact with QR codes. And the reason for that is there's no QR code reader native on any deck. You have to go out and find one. But people who interact with QR codes interact with them heavily. It's estimated that 3%, which was last year, will turn into 16% of people will do all their shopping on mobile. So that's really, really important to understand. So we're doing all of our holiday shopping. But what I want to explain is that if you're going to have clickable content, meaning if I'm going to bridge paper and digital together, make it clickable, make that clickable content beautiful. So let me explain a story very quickly. In San Francisco, earlier this year, I saw this big shop window that Ford had done. Beautiful activation of physical cars in this beautiful store. But then they had this 7-foot QR code in their front window. I thought this is going to be absolutely amazing. I get back about 2 blocks so my QR code reader could read the bloody thing. And when it came up, it said, would you like to like our Facebook page? I'm like, oh my God, are you kidding me? So it was just rubbish. So when you do clickable content, so if you're going to bridge physical to digital, make sure it's a beautiful payoff. This is an IKEA catalogue. I can actually connect it to my phone, and it brings the product to life, and it shows me all these things that I couldn't normally see in print. So that's the sort of thing that I'm talking about with you guys.
Rub it up. Rub it up.
Oh my gosh!
Again? Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Oh. Now, if you didn't start crying, you're a hardened bastard. Here's what's interesting. In this 2-minute 30 video, there's not one screen that you see that doesn't have an Adidas logo on it. It's a very blatantly branded video piece. And by the way, David Beckham doesn't work for free. So it's also a very expensive branded video piece. But it works exceptionally well because it plays along of those emotions, and it's very timely because it's a sponsor of the Olympics. But watch this one for a second.
If I was golden, I would follow you forever. Darling, please rescue me. Take me out.
Okay, one of my earlier slides, I said that consumers' tastes have changed. In 2006, in the UK, Sony PlayStation seeded a whole bunch of content. UGC videos, stories, lots of UGC pictures, and said our crowd love us so much that they actually created all this content for the launch of our PlayStation. It wasn't true. It was done by Sony, and we, the crowd, found out and said that's bullshit, and they spent 6 months backpedaling reputation management stuff. Terrible situation for any brand to be in. They spent all this money thoughtfully doing this programming. They thought it'll reflect well. It reflected badly. You fast forward to about 18 months ago when this video came out, and what's interesting about this in my mind is this. This young band had their instruments stolen. They're on the train to upstate New York. They all had their iPhones. They did this impromptu jam session that caught on video and took off to the social cloud. This was rumored to be a hoax seeded by Apple. Apple never denied it, but the point is very simple. There's 1.8 million search results on this alone. This is an unknown band, and the point is very simple. If the branded content that you produce is good, it doesn't matter whether it's subtle like this or blatant like the Beckham video. If it's good, people will just pass it around. That's a very simple point when it comes to video. All right, so very quickly we've moved from the information age to the social age. That's what you guys have grown up in. This is the world that we're moving to very quickly. This is the image that sums up social right now for me. Yeah, and this has been posted to everybody's Facebook page, most likely. I like the bottom one. I'm good at peeing. LinkedIn. Nothing like self-promotion. However, for me, it's been a land grab for likes in the last 12 months or so. Every brand I speak to say, I just want 1 million likes on my video. I just want a like over here. I think the likes are rubbish. I think it's completely diluted. And the reason for that is back in the day, before we could be friends, you would have to confirm my friend request. That's the skin in the game. There's no skin in the game anymore because you like my shoes, my pants, my belt, my bag, my jacket, or before you like me as a whole. So it's diluted. So here come the verbs. We're going to see want, we're going to see purchase, we're going to see desires. All these things are going to be actions that are going to be new actions to say we need new metrics. Why? Only 18% of people inside your social network will have an intent to purchase a brand that you have liked. Only 18%. So about, obviously about a fifth. So it's interesting to know that there's brand blindness in people's timelines now. And what's also interesting is the three brands or categories that are winning in the like space is entertainment, restaurants, and food. They're the ones that people really like to like. Why? They already shop there. They want a special deal, but they also want this insider knowledge. They want to be treated like a VIP. So make sure you think about that as you represent brands. This is a tool that I use. It's called Social Mention. You guys should check it out because what it does, it allows you to look at brands that you look at. And this is just one I did on an airplane. This is Gatorade. And it looks at all of their sentiment. And sentiment is going to be very important moving forward. And it's called Social Mention, as I said, and it's free. So as you go and explore some of the brands that you love, go and check out their brand sentiment, which sort of is their brand halo around social. That's what Social Mention will do. Now, however, I think that the web is completely overwhelming, meaning that there's so much out there. There's lots of people trying to sort of impact you in your day-to-day. In fact, I don't know if you know this, but on average, there's almost 2,000 ads that we see every single day in media. It's actually 1,995. So it's an enormous amount of content media that we see. And then it becomes underwhelming because search doesn't do what it used to do. A Google search result, only 60% of it is organic. The rest of it is paid Google. So it looks like it's organic, but it's not. And that's part of their secret sauce, and God bless them. But what I think is interesting is we have too many friends, too many followers, we're following too many people. People are confused, and I think that defriend and unfollow will be a trend. Now, what I mean by that is that I think you'll go through your social graph and skinny down your network to people that you really just give a rat's about. I'm trying to get my network down to people who will pick me up from the airport. That's all I care about. So I'm not quite there, and I think this is a good thing. This cleansing of the social networking is going to be very good. Because at the moment, if you're blind by all these brands, if people defriend and unclutter their social network and your brand is in the middle of it, utopia. If it's not, well then, so what? We have to figure out another way to market to them. That's really important. This is social bad. This is KLM Airline. They allow you to choose the seat that you want to fly on by looking at somebody's LinkedIn and Facebook page. Terrible. That's stalking. This is something, and it'll create some terrible backlash. This is something I think is brilliant. This is the country of Sweden, saying if you would like to be, they're so proud of their Twitter account and their country, they said if you would like to own the voice of Sweden, we will give you the Twitter account, our official Twitter account for a week. Incredibly brave. Then I saw this, which I think is incredible. So at London Fashion Week, as you know, there's a mountain of news that come around certain hashtags. It'll happen tomorrow for TEDx. And what I think is interesting around this is that Burberry understood that there was tons of people watching them around London Fashion Week. They thought, how can we treat them like VIPs? What they did, they decided to take a photograph of every model before they got on the catwalk, and they tweeted that out. So we got to see what the models are up to before the likes of Anna Wintour did, which I think is a beautiful thing to do, treating them like VIPs.
We created the Social Home Tour.
Let me explain this one for you. So, in real estate, the #1 statement people use is tailor-made for you. And you walk into the room, the house that you've got an appointment to look at, and there's not one thing on the wall that looks like it's tailor-made to you. There's pictures of people you don't know, all that sort of rubbish. So what these guys did, they created an app. They created a registration page that said, if you want to view this new property, you have to give us your Facebook details. And when you enter the room, all of your pictures are on the wall. The television is playing sports because they know that's what you do, because sports is part of your social network. Now, I don't know whether this is creepy or whether this is good, but it worked well for them. The sales went up, the views went up, all the metrics go up and up and up. So if your brand is important to people, then you can do things like this. You can actually integrate them physically into the physical space. So it's a really good bridge between digital and physical again. All right. Now, if you want to see something that's very cool, Intel do some great activations online. So Intel have this thing called Museum of Me. You guys have probably all heard of that before. Museum of Me is something that you register with your Facebook, and it creates an art gallery of all of your pictures. Beautiful. But then they go off and do this thing called Me the Musical. Because you know the new hot thing for Facebook is timeline. So what they've done is created this beautiful timeline that is a musical of your life. So it says, hey, the year you were born, this is the #1 song. Then it creates this beautiful musical experience with all your stuff. I love what they do because they're fiercely ambitious on Facebook. They don't just try and make Facebook better. They create a layer on top of Facebook and create their own experiences. And that's what you guys should be doing in social. Should be saying, how can I take all of these social environments and make it even equally more important? Most of us would rather hang out with our Facebook mates and have a beer than people we aspire to know on Twitter. But what this tells you is we're becoming comfortable with the company of strangers. So this whole idea of 6 degrees of separation is probably now down to 2 degrees, because there's nobody you can't know more of, because the social graph allows us to do that. Okay, before I crack on, do we have a hard stop? Do we have a hard stop, anybody? No, I'm linking, I see blank looks. Shall I crack on? Yeah. All right, I'm going to crack on then. So what about ads? So this is how I pay rent. This is how most of us are going to pay rent. It's through the art of advertising. Now, as the revolution continues with advertising, there are new formats and there's all this new stuff to be able to compound what's going on. But the future of advertising for me is this. We're going to move away from generic advertising and we're going to move into influencer marketing, meaning that the social networking space is going to allow us to have better ways to actually market to people. We're also going to move away from behaviorals and assumptions, which you do today, to actions and specifics. And I'm going to give you an example of that in a moment. So behavioral and assumptions already happen today. Let me give an example. Where we go to a website, we see a website for shoes, a banner ad. We go to another website, we see a shoe banner ad. We go to another website, we see a shoe banner ad. That's behavioral because it's following you around the web. It's cooking you. You know that. 0.02% is the average click-through rate on a banner ad. What happens to the other 90%? Nobody gets to see it. It's called banner blindness. But let me show you this thing real quickly. Actually, you know what? Just let me talk over it. Here's what's happened. There's some new banner ad formats. In fact, AOL owns one of them. So we went to a big creative agent and said, can you do something in the banner ad that's never been done before? So they said to us, why don't we do something for a charity like Pencils for Promises? So these guys build schools out of artwork. And so what they actually said is that why don't we have an artist who goes into his studio and he draws the actual artwork that we want to sell. So in this banner ad, we'll have the artwork that's been created by the artist, the auction live to see how the price is working, and all the celebrities who are tweeting it out. So it's a 3-part ad all in the same space. It's incredibly ambitious, but at the moment, that basically tells you that you can now have inside your ads video, apps, social, and commerce. So all of the things that we wanted people to do one click away can actually happen now inside the ad, and you don't give a rat's ass about click-through rates. That's the important thing about the future of the banner ad space. So wait for this. It's inside out, not outside in. What does that mean? So for years and years, we've been spending billions of dollars getting people to click on an ad to take them to an experience that we want them to go to. But now, we can actually have people experience whatever you wanted them to do one click away inside the banner ad. So we're going to go outside in, not inside out. That's what the reverse of this industry is going to be, in my mind, in the next few years. We're miles away from it yet, because it's only been around, the ability to do this has only been around for 18 months. So instead of having one click away, which is out, inside out, it's going to be outside in. So we're going to allow people to go out to do it. Check this out.
When splitting up,
You just said, stop.
pay for yourself.
Take a picture of me so I can click it. That way you can see what he's missing.
That is just rude. Damn. I too can play at this game.
Make new friends.
Thanks.
And hang on. Jenny McCartney directs a romantic comedy adventure where two best friends go overboard.
You just would have planned it with him. That's the first date.
I don't even know. Hit me with a...
Yeah.
Trying to reunite
Really?
You busted.
a couple meant to be.
What is going on?
We planned it.
This is perfect. Now we're all mad at each other. It's a big hate fest. Woohoo!
Now, will their best intentions
Well.
push these exes back into the allure of love?
Can't buy this dress? It's too skimpy on me. I'll take the dress.
See the short film at RoyalCaribbean.com.
Now, if that wasn't back announced, and you didn't see that URL, you'd think this is a big trailer for a movie. Well, it isn't. It's actually a 12-minute movie produced by Royal Caribbean Cruises, you know, the cruise liner? And what's interesting about this is that when those 3 other brands included, there's Coca-Cola, Starbucks, and Kung Fu Panda, so those 3 brands pushed it out. People love this because 2 reasons. One, it looks like a movie and it feels like one. As I said, it's 12 minutes long. It was featured like a movie. It had pre-roll like a movie. It was posted like a movie. And it has this interesting acting and interesting directing. So the cost of it was quite low. So it didn't have the feature film budget. But it acted like a feature film. And I don't know quite what to call these, but I'm seeing more of them. I'm calling them mega-mercials. So as we spend more time on our 3-inch device, this thing, and we spend time on our 10-inch, and we spend time in front of the TV, this type of content is going to be things that we accept as users. And we're going to accept it as entertainment and information. And I think it's going to be quite amazing for us. So here's the thing of the future in terms of advertising that I think will happen. You go to Google today, and you type in pink shirt. Up comes a Google result for Nordstrom's, the department store. I look at the shirt and think, bugger that, I'm going to go across to Facebook. I go to Facebook, the pink shirt ad follows me. So now that pink shirt ad is being targeted to me in Facebook. Then I decide to screw that, I'm going to pick up my phone, I'm going to head to lunch. So I go out to lunch and I start sort of thinking, I start surfing on my phone around lunch to figure out what I want to do next. There is no way today to go from that pink shirt to my mobile. But the future of mobile, or the future of ads, will be like this. Why shouldn't I get a direct tweet from the Nordstrom store that says, hey dude, here's that pink shirt you're looking at, and by the way, because you're only 3 blocks away, if you go pick it up today, we'll give you a discount, and here's the QR code, or the scanning code. Now, this is either going to be super creepy or super cool. I don't quite know yet, but that's where I think the future of ads is going to head to. But we'll see. I also think we're going to go away from interest, which is how we're targeted today, to intent. Intent is I'm going to actually go purchase. So I think that retargeting is going to happen. I love it when brands participate authentically in environments. So in Pinterest, which I know a lot of you probably play around with, Honda, obviously this ad didn't work on me, did it? It's called Honda, and Honda said, look, if you curate a pin board for how you'd spend your ultimate 24 hours off, the best pin board we will give $500 to. Incredibly ambitious. And then this thing was very cool. Uniqlo, the retailer, said, why don't we create a couple of hundred accounts? And then they created all these assets and said, why don't you go and upload these assets for us? And they basically hacked Pinterest for no cost. So this is the sort of stuff we can do as marketers to be able to go into these environments and say, how can we participate authentically at low cost and do it where it's unbranded? And this is an example of Uniqlo hacking Pinterest. These are the sort of things I'll talk about in the future. Amazing, right? All right. Starbucks, when they registered with your My Starbucks card, they said to you as you register, would you like to upload a recipe suggestion for Starbucks? And we're like, well, what's this all about? There's 24 recipes on your bloody menu. How can I add value? If people love your brand and you allow them to participate, then they'll openly contribute to your brand. 75,000 people offered recipe suggestions in 6 months to Starbucks. 75,000 recipes were submitted. 75,000. It's enormous. Okay. As the economy continues to tank, you guys are victims of that, acts of kindness that are branded become part of the fabric of the business. Let me explain that better. 10 years ago, if a brand said, I want to be able to do good to the environment or to people, we look at that and think, well, that seems a bit off. Now it's fundamentally critical for businesses to be considered in the cause marketing space. What do I mean by that, and why is it important? 92% of consumers want to know what a brand is doing for impact and cause marketing. It is front and center of the CMO table. However, 70% of us are confused by why we're in cause marketing. So if a brand says, I'm in cause marketing to do great things for the society, we're confused by why they're doing them. Over 70% of us are. As I said, it has a front and center position at the CMO table. Cause marketing is the third largest sponsorship dollars outside of sports and entertainment. So it's very aggressive in terms of those numbers. Okay, I want to spend the last 5 minutes talking about some stuff that's hot, and then I'd love to take some questions for 10 minutes if that's cool with you. And we'll wrap up at 12:30 if that's good. What's next? We're going to move away from campaigns and chatter, which is all we do in marketing today, and we're going to move to conversations. And brands have been typically bad at that in the future. But to do that, you have to be relevant, you have to be remarkable, and you have to be reactive. If you can't be those 3 R's, then don't bother starting. No brand should get into social at all if they can't do those 3 things, because otherwise you won't have the discipline. It takes real bloody discipline to be in this space. The future will also be a lot more of this thing called the Internet of Things. You guys may have heard that term. What does it mean? Quite simply, you know, I can enter my Ford today by using an application on my smartphone. I don't need to have keys. That's the Internet of Things. This bag by the designer Richard Nichols is the Internet of Things. It has a charging station inside it for my iPhone. There's no reason why that won't have a Wi-Fi unit in it soon enough, so it now becomes a self-contained internet device. That's the sort of stuff I'm talking about. This is an Internet of Things. This fuel band is an Internet of Things. So it doesn't it's not all about a screen base. It's about this thing making things more effective and using the internet to help bridge it. That's the Internet of Things. This bloody thing is crazy. Replay jeans have come out with a Bluetooth button in it. So it's connected to my phone, so if I walk into somewhere, I just press my jeans, and it'll tell people where I'm located and my mood. How weird is this bloody thing? This is for real, by the way. I'm not making this up. That is the Internet of Things. I don't think you can ever wash those jeans, by the way, which I think is pretty scummy. Interesting. Check this out as an Internet of Things. Not commercially available yet, but how crazy would that be? So the Internet of Things is, you know, this action-forward device, things like bottle tops. That's amazing stuff that I'm talking about here. In fact, when it comes to RFID, RFID is just basically a chip inside your device that allows you to activate this stuff. I've got business cards coming where an RFID chip is inside my business card. So every one of those chips allows me to program something different. So my business card that I give to you will be unique to you. Because as soon as you come to your phone, it'll give you a different experience for everybody who I give my card out to. That's the sort of stuff we're talking about. Okay, we love curated environments. So as we have this mass confusion of media out there, people who curate better experiences for people are going to win the battle when it comes to digital. Examples of that are companies like Fab.com for shopping, JetSetter for travel. So categories where we thought, oh, it's really small, why would we bother? Become amazingly large because people love to have curated experiences in their lives. So that's really important. As I said, the future of social is about this: connectedness, participation, conversation, openness, community. The thing that's going to be new around social in the future is this: interest, portable, aggregation, discovery, and niche. They're the new elements around social that we haven't seen happen yet, but they're going to sit on top of the current social paradigm. Okay. We very quickly moved away, as I said, from the information age to the social age. We're also moving very quickly to the interest age. That's where we're headed to. We're going to move beyond social into interest. Here are some examples of brands you know and love and their global reach. Facebook grew last year at 9%. Foursquare, quite niche, 124%. Pinterest, which is massively niche, it grew at 1,200% per month. That's their growth rate. Massively niche. So what we're seeing, though, is a lot of context. I don't know if you guys have played with Windows 8. Windows 8 could be very rock and roll because I've got this new paradigm on the desktop, which is not browser-based. So as I decide to click on a tile, like Los Angeles Times tile, then I go to their sports section, I will see these contextual ads running inside the environment, which give me this beautiful experience like nothing I've ever seen before. So we'll see more contextual ads out there. And we'll see niche sites like Pinterest blowing up to be mainstream, and we'll see mainstream sites like Twitter try and go niche. What do I mean by that? Twitter at the moment is trying to get people to, instead of just talking about breaking news offline. So they're creating offline communities. So that's niche as well. Quite interesting. I also think we're going to program the web around need states. What do I mean by this? So today, if I turn on the television at 11 o'clock in the morning, it's going to be different to the programming at 11 o'clock at night because I have a different need state. I'm in a different mindset. In the state of digital, we think that need states are important, but we think they're already being pre-programmed. So we haven't bothered to do it. But I think that men and women have particular needs, and we don't cater to their need states uniquely across the web today. And I think we will, because there are certain things we do throughout our day which we can actually cater for in our need state, and that's where it's going to go in the future. I also think we're going to stop thinking about online and offline because we're in always-on environment. So now think about awake and sleep. That's the environment that we're going to talk about moving forward. And we're going to participate beyond comments. And what I mean by that today, comments is written, and that's the only way to participate in the web. So if you go to YouTube and you want to reply to a video, you're trying to figure out what to do with your bloody smartphone, trying to reply to a comment. And if you can't craft a good sentence, and you've got spelling errors in it, people can flame you in those environments. It's terrible to be in. So if we quickly move it to photos, videos, and audio and real time, people will increase their participation in those things, I believe. And I think there's three types of worlds out there. There's my world, which is my world only. There's our world, which is my world and my friends and family. And then I think the next world is their world, which is the global world. They're the three things that when it comes to the world, and I don't think we're necessarily catering to those exceptionally well today. And when it comes to social, forget about places you go, it's things you do. So it's not about brands, it's about actions. So that's the world of social moving forward. And social commerce will feel like this. I can't point to too many brands globally that get social commerce really well. Facebook commerce, F-commerce, or social commerce. I don't care what you call it. I don't know any brands that do it well. But if we don't get it right, it's going to smell like Amazon affiliates meets Twitter meets multi-level marketing. That's the world. So the idea of friend of a friend of a friend of a friend in social design, my all-time favorite image, by the way. I'm loving the look on this dude. I think that if we don't get it right, it's ours to screw up. So the new, and the thing of the future in my mind is really about social design and friend of a friend. So the referral of friends to friends to friends has to be authentic, otherwise we'll see through it as consumers. Now I'm a designer and an artist, no surprise, I assume. But red, blue and yellow are the three colours that can make up every single painting in the universe. Red, blue and yellow. With that palette I can paint anything. In your world, in our world in digital, these are the three primary colors for us. It's technology and content and distribution. With those three things, you can make whatever you want and you can have a beautiful digital experiences. Steve Jobs totally got it right. At times, people do not know what they want until you show them. So you have to experiment with this stuff. How can you be an engine of difference for the brands that you represent in the future? That's the only thing is your purpose. You have to be able to have experienced storytelling, and you need to become an experienced expert, meaning you have to understand what people are doing in the context of the device they're looking at that time. So that's the thing that's going to make us great marketeers. Our job is to build liquid content that fuels conversations, connections, and engagement. That's all it is. And lastly, here are some tips. I love it when people encourage a remix culture, both with their brand and their marketing budgets. We also need to find the right people because the power of social is important, so influencers still matter. Harness pre-existing communities like hacking Uniqlo. Constantly innovate. Embrace new startups and co-create. Allow people to feel like they own part of your product because they will then pass it on to all their friends. And what we need to do is create a fail-forward foundation, meaning if people go out and pioneer, they don't get fired for doing it. So that's why I encourage brands to do around the world. And here are some tools that I use. You don't have to write all this down. I'm happy to give you a subset of this deck and send it to somebody. But here are some tools. I don't know about you, but I used to email myself from my work email account to my personal email account, all my to-dos, so I don't forget. I sat back 18 months ago and thought, oh my God, I'm spamming myself. So I found Evernote. It's text, pictures, audio, video up into the cloud, and it works on every single device and all my phones. Musical.ly. So I follow a lot of people in social, but I only know what's going on if I follow them on my Facebook wall or my Twitter account. But Musical.ly is a service that allows me to know what people are doing in the public relations environment. So if somebody's got a write-up in a magazine, I can find out what they're doing because Musical.ly's found it for me. Engadget is tech. This is a social mention. This is the thing I showed you before about brands. And the other one I want to talk about is Tumblr. It's a great publishing platform. And RSS and alerts still work. So if you set up an RSS or you set up an alert system in your applications, it's the best way to find out what's going on in my mind. It seems a little old-fashioned, but it's the best way for me to find stuff still today. And I don't sleep a lot, so that helps me. Tourist is an incredible application you should check out on your iPad. So download this because what's hot at the moment is 3D photography and 3D video. So what Tourist allows you to do is us stand here right now in the middle of Athens. We do this with our iPad and we could be looking at Times Square, the 360-degree radius of Times Square, and there could be amazing ads integrated in it. It's not today, but that's where I think it's going to go. And this thing is called Path. Path is great on the iPhone, and it started out being built on the iPhone first. So if you want to see a great mobile application, which is a private network, check out Path because it looks gorgeous. And there are my details. That's my corporate email. That's my handle on Twitter. Holy shit, we did that in about 45 minutes. Are we good?
You're great.
Are you guys solid? There's a lot to absorb, isn't there? Holy crap, there's a lot to absorb. Here's the thing. That presentation has just been summarised in a book that I just wrote. I'll happily send you a PDF version of it, so you guys can have that as my gift. Of course, yeah. So that's my gift to you. Any questions, concerns, comments? I've got a couple of minutes to be able to hang out if you guys are.